I want to, in a moment, the images that you see on your television screen, Iris Dana, that was sunk by by an American submarine, was in India sometime back. It was off the coast of Vishakhapatnam for the International Fleet Review, then stayed back for Exercise Milan, and then was sailing back. So it had left Indian territory. It was in international waters. It was crossing Sri Lanka. The Galle coast was an exclusive economic zone of Sri Lanka, not even in their coastal waters. Americans say they were in international waters. That is where they sunk them. Sandeep will explain to us in just a moment how that torpedo strike took place. That image is perhaps the most fascinating that any defense enthusiast has seen or any sailor has seen, capturing the sinking of a ship on camera. Second World War, when this was happening, and 2,000 odd ships were sunk between 1939 and 45. You may have seen this but not caught them on camera. Between 1945 and 2026, only 4 such instances. This is the 4th. But let me get you more on the story before we get back to Sandeep. What is the American Naval war plan? It says just go after all ships that Iran has. What are they doing? They're going after all the Iranian warships. Naval war assets that America has deployed. It includes their destroyers, their fast attack crafts. Now, what are destroyers? And I must tell you the difference, just very basic difference between a destroyer, a frigate, a corvette, a fast attack craft. Then, of course, you graduate to the drone carrier, helicopter carrier, and then the aircraft carrier and strike group. So what's a destroyer? A destroyer is a faster craft, more displacement. It's a large ship. It has long endurance. It is designed to launch guided missiles. The difference between a destroyer and a frigate is the size and the kind of weapons it has on board. It's amongst the larger missile boats in the fleet. It also has its helicopters which can counter anti-submarine warfare, anti-ship warfare, which is anti-surface warfare, and anti-aircraft warfare. It also has surface-to-air missiles, and the displacement is 7,000 tons, more than 7,000 tons displacement generally. The range is between 4,500 to 8,000 nautical miles. The crew is between 100, 150 by and large. Let me now tell you about frigates. Frigates are smaller, faster, very versatile. They're highly maneuverable, equipped with sophisticated sensors. It has missiles, lesser in numbers, lesser in size, but they specialize also to an extent, in some instances, anti-submarine warfare, for example, or they have specific mission orientation, anti-aircraft, they escort duties, and their size. So frigates are slightly smaller than destroyers, 3,000 tons to about 6,000, 7,000 tons displacement. Range also slightly less than a destroyer, 3,000 or to 7,000 nautical miles. Crew, again, lesser than a destroyer, between 100 and 150. Now let's come to the smaller ship, the corvettes, for example. Corvettes are small in size and abilities, but they're extremely mobile. They're extremely fast, swift, maneuverable, small warships, predominantly used to quickly reach a site, also for coastal defense or patrol of an area, or just from coast to the EEZ, exclusive economic zone. They also have anti-ship missiles, surface-to-air missiles, equipped with anti-submarine warfare equipment. Again, when you come to tonnage, the displacement about 500 to 3,000 tons, range about 2,000 to about 4,000 nautical miles. Crew again also much smaller in numbers. I once again want to bring in my colleague Sandeep Unnithan for the weapons of war that are currently being used. I was speaking to Namal Rajpaksa yesterday, and he said it's very, very risky that this war is now so close to our territory, Sandeep.
Yes, Gaurav, and there is a slight irony there, because the Sri Lankan Navy, Gaurav, you and me have covered that conflict, was at one point the most experienced navy in countering brown water tactics of the LTT Sea Tigers, and they battled them for over a decade. But that was way back. 2009 is when the LTT was finally destroyed. But this is,
Decimated, yeah.
a strategy that Iran has now been adopting. This brown water strategy of coastal combatants, speedboats, fast attack craft, midget submarines, a few submarines there. But clearly, as we've seen, the US has really gone after the Iranian Navy in the last couple of hours. It's literally decimated the Iranian Navy. And this is a war that we have, again, a war short of boots on the ground. We have seen all aspects of conflict, except the ground engagements. We've seen airstrikes. We've seen warships being taken out, warships being torpedoed as well. A very large naval component because of the carrier strike groups, submarines coming in. The only aspect of a full-scale war that's missing right now, Gaurav, is, of course, as we discussed, the boots on ground, which the United States does not want to, deploy, Gaurav.
At least as of now. But Sandeep, I want you to describe, and I want our producers to put out that image of Iris Dana, the Iranian frigate, being torpedoed. We'll just put out that image. It's a very fascinating image, and I'm sorry to be using that word at a time when so many sailors lost their lives. But this was almost as if the American nuclear submarine or the attack submarine was waiting, got them in the kill zone, and destroyed them. They didn't have a chance of survival in this instance, Sandeep.
Yes. So, Gaurav, that's why a nuclear-powered attack submarine is one of the deadliest naval combatants. They have the ability to shadow and stalk surface combatants, and it is very, very likely that this US nuclear-powered attack submarine had been shadowing the Iris Dana for several days, possibly picked it up when it was leaving Vishakhapatnam and had been following it all along and waiting for the right opportunity to strike. The time, the lat long, all of those things would have been taken into account when they fired that torpedo. And what you're seeing on screen right now is the nuclear-powered attack submarine, the US submarine, which is less than a kilometer away at periscope depth. Now, this is really important because the nuclear submarines also have the ability to fire a torpedo and get away quickly. And usually they do two. They fire a salvo of one or two torpedoes. But here, they were so confident, given the disposition of the target. You can see the ship, it's moving very slowly, probably doing 10, 15 knots, cruising along. It wasn't at action stations, because if it had been at action stations, they would have been taking evasive maneuvers. They would not have been following a predictive path. And this warship appears to have been, it let its guard down for whatever reason. We don't know why. They did not believe they were in any danger. The attack submarine closed in for the kill, rose to periscope depth. That is the attack periscope that you see on screen. And the captain has launched a single Mark 48 torpedo, Mark 48 ADCAP torpedo, advanced capability torpedo, which has a range of something like 30 kilometers. It has a warhead of about 300 kilograms of high explosive. And that explosion that you see, Gaurav, is not of the torpedo making contact with the keel of the ship. What it has done is it has exploded under the keel of the Dana. And the principle behind that is physics, that you don't strike the warship directly. What you do is you explode the thing about 5 meters below the keel of the ship. There is an expanding gas bubble. And when that gas bubble expands, it shoots out a column of water, and that column of water actually breaks the keel of the ship. And what you would have seen is the subsequent visuals are not visible, but the ship would have likely broken up, and one piece would have come like that, and it would have slid back into the water. It would have been over in just about 3 minutes. And that is precisely why torpedoes are so deadly, Gaurav. It would have taken you 2 or 3 or 4 missile hits, harpoons. You would have to fire a volley of 3 or 4 harpoons or Exocet missiles to sink a ship of this size. But you could do that with just one torpedo, and you can see the confidence.
And you can see them.
Yeah, you can see the confidence of the American skipper who's fired that torpedo. He just fired one shot. He knew absolutely what he was doing. And he was, it's tragic also in a way, Gaurav, because I've spoken to my attack submarine pals who've seen it. And for them, it was tragic because it was like shooting fish in a barrel. That ship stood no chance. You're looking at,
and
such
if this is pre-dawn, they would have died in sleep. a large number of
Many
sailors.
of them, there would have been a few sailors on watch, and my sense is the survivors are the only ones who were awake, and they would have been at watch keeping, and they would have been on the upper decks because the sailors in the below decks, they would have all perished instantly.
Instantly, they would have just sunk to the
a column
bottom of the
water.
sea.
Yes, a column of water would have come in. They would not have felt anything. It would have been over in a flash. That's the reason that these attacks are so terrifying, Gaurav. And that footage, I must tell our viewers, Gaurav, is that this is 4 submarines sunk since the Second World War, 80 years. This is the first footage that we have seen of a torpedo hitting another warship. There is a picture of the General Belgrano going down in 1982. It was taken by one of the survivors. It's an iconic photograph of the Argentinian warship after it was hit by the torpedo. The
Falklands
HMS Conqueror, did not, take any photograph. But quick fact check, Gaurav. Pete Hegseth mentioned that this was the first instance of its kind since the Second World War. He needs to be checked on that. There have been 3 other incidents before this,
Yes.
not the first.
Oh, absolutely, including, sadly, INS Kukri in the 1971 war. Sandeep, stay with me. So, with US submarines now striking Iranian assets way beyond Gulf, in the Indian Ocean region, which is India's area of responsibility, this is a dangerous escalation that has alarmed India's closest neighbor, Sri Lanka, since it happened off the coast of Sri Lanka, just off Galle in their exclusive economic zone, or as Pete Hegseth said, in international waters off Galle. We're told that Sri Lanka, they rushed in their coast guards, their navy to rescue whoever they could.